1, 2, 2.
Check, check. We're here to tell you that. And that's a fact, baby. All right, gonna kick some lyrics like this. Walk a fine chalk line and put the needle to the grind. Representing one kind, seeing eye for the blind. Which is what carry on bears a further purpose. From how we do slam a few, then you wanna purchase a dialogue of funk. You love to pop it in your trunk. I win more discipline than the Shaolin monk. Pete Rock and CL, well set to spark it. The powerful target to destroy the black market. But when you say black, listen, I don't know, you lose me. I guess another beggar can't afford to be choosy. I come to the maximum, artist on the major label. Any duplication of this one is fatal. On 125, I gotta hit your line, beat your ass with my tape, any race or shape. Cause if they got mine, they got yours too. But together, here's what we gotta do. That's right, y'all. Say what? We got to. Everybody must say what? Yeah. It's like that. Say what? The funk legacy I pass on, clearancy for high rates. Every time we sample all the pastime greats, stick it in the
1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. Let me make sure my mic sounds nice. Yeah, I think we're ready. Alex, big up to the producer, Alex. He gets everything done while I'm really like running around. He makes it working. He's working, like literally working. I want to thank everybody for tuning in, and as we're tuning in, if you could share it. I think this is about the 14th one. The 14th Let's Talk, which started right after the George Floyd incident, and it's just so you get familiar with some people that are doing some work in Providence, and not just the same people you see all the time. There's a lot of people in the background that you might not even know. There's accountants, there's realtors, there's a lot of people out there that are supporting the black community in huge ways that you might not know. And I had the pleasure of going to Pawtucket. And I'm like, why am I going to Pawtucket? I'm really like, you know, when you know how we are in Rhode Island, we don't really want to go anywhere that's not 5 minutes away. But I used to live in Pawtucket, and Pawtucket's not that bad. So I'm like, let me go out there and see what's going on. I heard about this young lady, and I said, let me just see what she got happening. And as I pull up, here's the thing. There are places there that I've known for years, but you never know who owns those places. Mm-hmm. And when you do figure it out that, hold on, this is a black young female that owns the block. The block, not one, not two, but the block, like literally, and then working on like literally owning probably downtown Pawtucket. Like that's how I look at it, downtown Pawtucket. So, and the thing about it is she has the centerpiece of art in downtown Pawtucket, and I say that because I go back years, and when I go back years, I'm talking like Pomelands Mall. That's what we called it, Pomelands Mall. So if you're familiar with what I'm talking about right now, I want to introduce you to the lady that owns it, and her name is Leslie Moore, right?
Yes. Thank you.
Very interesting. And I want to start kind of at the beginning of what made you choose Pawtucket and all that good stuff. But did you know that was Pomelands Mall? Or did you hear about what it was and what it meant to the culture?
Yes, I did. And that was part of what was really special, is that so many people that I met and talked about downtown Pawtucket, their story was, I grew up listening to music, buying music, break dancing in Pomelands Mall.
And it was very important to what the hip hop culture was, because I'll give you a little bit more. I don't know if you heard it, but just in case our listeners don't know it too, Pomelands Poem was the actual place when I first started selling mixtapes, which was downtown Providence. From this studio right here, it's about a block away. So Poem was a little store, had the cow canai, the cross colors, you know, it had all the hip hop gear, but it also, if you were up and coming DJ, they would buy your master or they would buy copies of your CD and they would sell your CD. And big up to Paris and Sean G and those guys who own Pomelands Mall. And it was more of this type of situation for a young black kid growing up. It was, these guys are role models because they actually own the store, you know, and they own a store downtown Providence, which was so special to me because you didn't see our faces downtown Providence. It was more of Italian, I think Armenian and Asian, which was downtown. And it was like, these young guys own the spot that I sell my CDs out of, that I buy clothes out of, that I listen, when I come in the door, you're listening to pure hip hop. You're listening to the classic hip hop joint. So you wanted to make sure that you made a CD and hurried up and sold it to the guys at Poem. And for you to have a piece of hip hop history, it makes me feel like, you purchased Biggie's house that he grew up in. That's how it makes me feel. Like it didn't go to the wayside. You always look at historic places and you wonder why these places aren't owned by us and why they're that a lot of people who own these places want to remodel them and do all this and do all that and not necessarily upgrade them and make it have that same feeling. Because as a kid, how I felt, I would want my son to feel and his son to feel. So when they totally like just knock something down, it seems like it really hurts the soul of the area. And Poem is very important. And as I walked in yesterday, and I was there maybe like a month ago or a month or two, I don't even know exactly when, but it just felt like I was gonna go to Poem. So that's my little take of the piece of history that you now own, and that's beautiful to me. That's beautiful.
So it is really it's so special because there's still so many things that are from then that we are so excited to keep there. There's a whole mural wall outside, graffiti mural outside of the building. And that was one of the first things that was asked of me. Well, are you going to paint that over? Start fresh? No way. That is the history.
Yeah.
That is the history, and that's what we want to build off of. So much of the culture that brought that place to life. And then there's a whole, when you walk in the building, anybody who's sort of been there, they see it. First thing when they go in, on the right side, there is what looks like the outside of a building, a brick building. And to know that the story there is that Paris wanted that to look like his place that he grew up in Prospect Heights.
Okay.
And he wanted that to be what people saw, where he was coming from.
Have you spoke to Paris?
I have. He and I have walked through the building. I got to hear some of what was really important to him in that space.
Dope. That's dope.
Yeah, and just, that was really helpful to me as I thought about, well, what are we trying to do here? We want to build off of what's been.
And what makes it even more a little more special is, one, he brought it back to where he came from, because he, of course, like I said, he was downtown Providence, and he got bigger. He progressed, so a lot of black businesses shut down within 6 months to a year. They can't sustain the business. And he kept it going, and then had a vision to make a mall. And that's just so inspiring as a kid watching him do that. And I don't think I've ever got to tell him that, but that was one of the focal points of me making Music Fiend originally, was that they had Pomelands Mall. And oddly enough, 3 doors down from Poem is where I made Music Fiend.
How about that?
Yeah, so it's very, very special to me. The other thing that's special to me is the fact that when I was coming up, I used to pawn all my DJ equipment, and you own the building that the pawn shop's in. So this is like doubly special to me that you actually own the building that the pawn shop that I've done business with for years is in. And not only have I pawned stuff, but I also have purchased a lot of DJ equipment from that building. So it's almost amazing the progress that you're making, but there's work to do.
That's right. That's
And
right.
What? So you have the Pomelands Mall. Let's start there. Let's start with why Pawtucket.
So really, this goes back to about 4 or 5 years ago during that last highly publicized series of killings of black men.
Okay.
And I talked with some of the leaders in the Black Lives Matter movement about what do we need to do. This just keeps happening. It feels like nothing's changing. What needs to happen? And so much of what we decided was...
Good. I'm sorry.
What we decided was, hey, people need to see black people differently. This is like from the moment eyes are laid on our brothers, our sisters in our community, there is a reaction.
Yeah.
And how do we change that reaction? And so much of what we thought was, man, we've got to change what people see when they see us.
Yep.
And so we thought if we build something and people see us differently, that will help. That will absolutely help the situation. Because right now we're in a box, and it's not a beautiful box.
Yeah.
We got to get out of that box. And so we decided, let's start somewhere that is undeniably needs help, needs support, and let's build that into something beautiful. And we felt like downtown Pawtucket was a very good candidate for a place that needed some love and that we could bring something special there. And that was actually when I learned so much more about what had happened there with Homeland and with the guys who were a part of just building community.
So you didn't know this off the bat. Like just coming into the situation, you didn't know that exact story or anything about Poem.
No, I didn't. Wow. I had only moved to Rhode Island maybe a year before that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, actually, let's go back even more. I love going back. History is really important to me. So let's go back even more. So you're originally not from Rhode Island. Where you were originally from?
I am originally from a little town out in the desert of California, right near Arizona. It's probably 120 degrees out there today.
Oh, how'd you deal with the weather?
When you from there, that's just the world, and so you go from air conditioned house to air conditioned car.
Look at this suntan that I got. I got a suntan out in Rhode Island sun. I don't even know what I would look like in Arizona sun or California sun.
Well, I'll tell you what, I think of myself as a very dark-skinned person, but so much of that was because I was out in the sun every day. I've lightened up a little bit.
Okay. Okay. And how was it? How was Arizona, that line of Arizona and California, how was it growing up black?
What was nice, it was a small community, so you really did know different people, and there wasn't much else out there. But the reality is I grew up in a black family, and so I had stories from my parents talking about working in the fields.
Okay.
Talking about how we ended up there, and it was because in the South we got pushed this way for all sorts of discriminatory reasons.
Wow.
And in black families, you talk a lot about race because more than probably other people realize, you are dealing with places and spaces that don't really match your culture, what you would naturally do, and so then you're talking about that. Oh yeah, I had to do this, I had to think about that, I wasn't really sure about this other thing.
So after in this small community, I'm sure everybody was tight knit, and then you decide that college is the way. Is that what happened next? What was the next step for you to leave this small town.
So it was pretty amazing. Probably another just story of something incredible. But I had gotten into an Ivy League college, which was uncommon
Wow.
for this little town that I was from.
Did you get a parade?
I didn't get a parade, but I had a lot of people who were really happy for me.
Yes.
And I didn't, we didn't have a lot of money. I didn't visit the college. I got on a Greyhound, me and my mom and one of my siblings.
Wow.
And we took the bus for 3.5 days to New Haven, Connecticut. I went to Yale University.
Wow.
And,
New Haven.
and when I arrived, that was it. That was it. I was ready.
New Haven. I got some things I did in New Haven at Toad's Place.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah, I've done a lot of shows at Toad's Place.
Oh, that's a hot spot.
Yeah, he's how you like that. You see that? Yeah. And I know that Yale is big on Toad's Place. That's where
Yes.
all the acts would go. Little, I don't know if you knew, but Toad's Place in Lupo's, which is in, which used to be, the Strand is now. It's now the Strand, but it used to be Lupo's. They would book together. So when someone would go to Toad's Place, whether it be rock or anything, they would leave Toad's Place and come straight to Rhode Island because they would
I
book
did
together.
not know that. I did not know that.
That's how I got into it, because they booked together. So if I was booked there, sometimes they would have an act that I would do both spots. Yeah. So Toad's Place was pretty big for me. Wow. So how was Yale?
It was different. It was different. I met a lot of people from a lot of different places. I was from a small town.
Yeah.
It felt like it was only black, white, and Mexican, and that's all that existed. And so it was fun. It was eye-opening. There was definitely a way that I was like, wow, people are kind of crazy too.
Yeah.
Values were different, and
Yep.
what people were sort of working towards. I was like, wow, I don't know anybody who does those things. But I felt like it was an amazing experience, and I feel thankful for it.
Just to let y'all know, we're talking to Leslie Moore. She's working on building the Black Block, meaning that she already has some property in Pawtucket, Rhode Island, downtown Pawtucket, and we're trying to help her inhabit it, make sure that there's some black businesses down there, and trying to make it like Harlem was. 401-400-5002 if you'd like to speak to her, and we're just going to keep going and keep rolling. And so from Yale, what was your major?
So I ended up finishing psychology, a political science, and an
wow.
economics major.
And did you want to go into politics?
I thought I wanted to do international relations work, is what I was thinking at the time.
Okay. And you just, that wasn't it?
And then I realized, man, there's this way that I want to go and help the world share its resources. And the reality is, it's hard to get neighbors to share resources. And so I sort of scaled it back and said, what does it look like to help people to share with one another? What just that? Maybe we'll make it to the international scene, but just a neighbor feeling like they can let something go is hard.
What was your leaving college? What was your first experience of that giving back and that helping that you wanted to accomplish? Like, what was your first experience?
When I left college, I went back to my hometown. And I felt excited to share some of the things that I had gotten really encouraged around in college. Part of it was this idea of like, man, you can make big things happen with small stuff. I was also part of a Christian group in college and just felt like, even though I'd gone to church my whole life, there was some clarity because I was actually reading the Bible and figuring out what it said. And so I went back to my hometown, and 6 other people from Yale came with me that summer.
Oh, wow.
And did a whole enrichment program for the young people and folks in my community.
Wow. So and what was it? What was their experience going to this small town? How did they feel about that?
It's kind of funny because there was excitement for it. People were sort of happy to see me. There was also questions. They were like, look, we just sent you off to this Ivy League. When are you going to start making this money?
Of course they have that question. Oh, what was your answer?
I felt like there was something bigger for me.
Okay.
And that was what I took away. I saw people, running after some crazy stuff when I was in college. And I thought, no. There's the resources that are here, and that, I just felt like I met geniuses while I was in college.
Yep.
And so much of what they were focused on didn't seem like they would make a difference to anybody in the world. They may make some money, but so I was really looking at a way to impact people and community. And so that was sort of my first trial at it, was that next year in my hometown, sort of saying, hey, guys, take a look at what's possible if we just use the resources that we have.
And what was it that you were looking to accomplish in that small town, and did you accomplish it?
What's funny? There's what is that saying? It's hard to be a prophet in your own home.
Believe me, I get it.
And it was interesting. I felt like a lot of the people who knew me and loved me were like, "Oh, you don't have to do this kind of stuff. You're educated. You should go and make money." It was almost hard for them to see me be about community stuff. And there was a way that they were sort of like, you don't really have to do that stuff. You're just being nice. And I thought, I really need more of a team if I'm going to do what I'm doing. There's got to be some more like-minded people. Otherwise, I just always get thrown in this category of you're just doing nice things. And we don't see the power of more people doing those kind of things. And that's why I ended up moving back out east, because I had some folks that I knew who were excited about similar things.
And back out east was?
To Boston.
Wow. That's like total opposite stretches. Yes. So what did, because as close to get to New York, you might as well just be in Boston. So what was Boston like for you, bringing the small town mentality, but the big Ivy League education? Now you're in Boston. What was that like?
So most of what happened in Boston was I was around other people who were pretty smart, but also had that sort of community. We're about community. And so that was really fun for me. It was a time of exploring different ways to live that out and be challenged by people who really cared about that kind of thing. And I just had an interesting experience. I bought my first property when I was 30. And what I thought I was going to do, I didn't do. What I ended up doing was inviting some young adults to live in that property with me, and their lives changed in a year. And I thought, man, property.
Well, let's go back to what did you think you were going to do?
Well, I was working in a neighborhood that it was gentrifying. And the civic association of that neighborhood was making all these decisions that I felt like, because I worked with the youth of the neighborhood, and I just felt like, man, this is terrible for the youth. They act like they're not even a part of the neighborhood, because the neighborhood was changing it, and I think some folks are very excited about that.
Yeah.
So I thought I would buy that property, and then I'd have a voice in this civic association that was so powerful in Boston.
And that was not true?
And what ended up nothing really happened there in this civic association. It never really the agenda. I didn't really feel like there was space to add anything. But after a year, just because I had a couple young people living in this property with me, they had started out being dropout. They weren't even going to school. That's why I let them live with me. Home life was bad.
Yeah.
And after a year, 2 of the 3 had gone to alternative schools and then headed out to college.
Okay.
And the third one got her GED and then headed out to college.
So you were like a mentor?
Sort of. I don't feel like I even did that much. What was true is that I created, unintentionally, just a safe place. What was stopping was folks from moving ahead was having a home, having their needs met, having positivity spoken. I'd say, man, you're so smart. What are you doing tomorrow?
Yep.
I'm working full time. What are you doing? And just that. It was no program, no nothing, but that kind of encouragement, feeling safe, having that taken care of, that made the difference for those folks. And then I was challenged 5 years ago by these Black Lives Matter folks to really think deeper about the work that I had gotten excited about, giving people a place to live, food to eat, stability. That so much of what we see in the Black community is that actually some of these basic needs people don't have. They don't feel safe. They don't feel free. They, there's just so much fear in the Black community constantly that what do we do to change that so that people can really thrive and impact their communities?
I've actually heard this, and I can't tell you where I heard it from, but they say people have a fear of being successful. Do you find that as something that is true?
Absolutely. Absolutely. So when I invite people into opportunities, often they start with why it won't work. And then usually I just, hey, well, we could do this, we could do this, we could do this.
Uh-huh.
And then sometimes people just
you are truly
right
an
out.
optimistic person. I tell you that. You are truly an optimistic person. I cannot lie about that, because when we met the other day, that was your thought process. It was, listen, I'm already seeing this. This is what I'm seeing. And I'm like, oh, I can't see it. Hold on. Let me see. Let me see if I can see it. But you know what happened on the ride home? As Alex and I were speaking, we could see it.
Uh-huh.
We could see it being like a Black Tulsa right there in Pawtucket. Whereas when I was driving there, I couldn't see it at all.
Uh-huh. Well, that's my gift, right? I tell people we all have it. We were all made uniquely. I'm really a Christian missionary. I just do everything else on the side.
Okay.
But right, beautifully and uniquely made. So if we use our gift, things start to change. And I know that my gift is vision. I can see it. I know how it can shape up.
Mm-hmm.
I've learned over time, you can't just say it because not everybody has that gift. You even have to build it out a little bit.
Yep. No, you're absolutely right. You're standing in something you're sitting in something that I had to give people that vision first for them to believe it, because they didn't. So I totally understand where you're coming from. So the Black Lives Matter guys have said to you, hey, let's do a little something and try to. But were they originally thinking Pawtucket, or was that a plan that you had first?
So it probably
in doing research, like, did you do due diligence, or did you just drive through Rhode Island and say, this is it?
So I guess it was my idea, the whole Pawtucket thing. And it was sort of funny. When we were talking, they were like, what are we going to do, sister? And I was like, oh, my gosh. I'm not protesting. I'm not about to, what are we really going to do? What are we really? So I was the one dragging my feet.
Yeah.
I'm not about to waste time. But after we spoke for a while and I took some time to imagine the possibilities, I said, yeah, let's focus on an area. And down the street is one of the worst downtowns I've ever seen.
Yeah. Oddly enough, it is. You know what's so funny is that with the mill over there and the waterfall and everything, there's some good history there. There's some really nice history, and if it were complemented by it being around some great things, because there were people that partied in Pawtucket. I know there's people on this chat right now that went to Cosmo. There was a couple of other spots out in Pawtucket. There was a couple Cape Verdean. Club 2000 was out there. So there was some spots out there that people frequented and didn't mind going to. But as time went on, just Pawtucket wasn't it. And recently, some really good visionary, I call them visionaries, came out of Pawtucket. And I say that because they were young kids that would come to my events, and they had the imagination to do some other things and the willpower to do some other things. And one of them, he's actually rehabbing in houses, and he's doing a hell of a job rehabbing in houses. So I think my personal feeling is, and like I said, I couldn't see it going in, but coming out, I absolutely seen what you were talking about, and I think it's something that we could actually do. We just got to get some people on board. How do you get people on board to what would seem like your dream? And I had this problem, so I really want to know how you kind of not convince them, but just explain it to them to where they're like, you know what, I can see myself coming over here and doing this, whereas they never seen themselves doing anything.
Yes. So that's good. What's the strategy?
Yeah.
I'm coming off, I'm all excited right now because I just left the mall. We call it Still on Main now.
Still on Main?
Is a famous African-American composer named William Grant Still.
Okay.
And he had a big vision that his music might bring different people together. And he felt like he failed. He died.
Mm-hmm.
He felt like he failed. And so we were like, no. He will be a part of bringing some really special culture together. But anyway, I was just at Still on Main, and what we're doing is launching a food court in that little mini mall. We had 12 different people who are a part of this entrepreneur group. Soul food, Jamaican food, healthy food, baked treats. So all this stuff is going to be coming at it. So, everybody loves food. Everybody loves a food court. Those are the kind of things you're like, well, why aren't those everywhere?
Yeah.
Well, the opportunity isn't everywhere. And so we're building the opportunity. We've actually built out the spaces. And now we've got a whole bunch of people who are saying, hey, I've got the talent. I will cook.
Yeah.
So people can taste my stuff. So things like that give people an opportunity to
I
start
love
their
food
business.
too, by the way.
Me too. So we're giving people, and we're doing it differently. If you want to see people who have very little resources, succeed, then you got to start filling in the holes. So we're building out the kitchens.
Yeah.
We are.
How many spaces do you have available?
So there are 6 spaces there in the mall that folks are moving into over the next couple weeks, and altogether there'll be probably 7 different restaurants that you can go into, different eateries inside of the mall. So that's one thing, is give people a reason to go.
Yep.
Give people a reason to go and give people a way to start. So we're trying to do both of those things at once.
Can you have a seafood cook-off? Like a seafood, because will I be there if you have a seafood cook-off.
Oh, see. In some of our bigger spaces, we started with the small spaces, but I am hoping that we get to see a nice seafood place.
All right. I'm there as soon as that comes. Woof,
you're there.
I'm there, like literally waiting for them to open up the door, because the seafood is my stuff. So I love seafood. So besides the food, is there other things going on inside the mall?
Yes. So we've got a whole group. There's a few things. There is a gym where folks are taking dance classes, but also there's personal trainers who are working there. And then one of the folks who is a part of our team is training. They have the license to train personal trainers.
Yeah.
So here we have another opportunity where we're helping people build their own business.
I never heard of a personal trainer's trainer. Personal trainer's trainer.
Yes.
Wow. All right.
Yes.
All right.
And Coach Stephanie, she will get you in shape, but she's also an encourager. She's saying, hey, I don't need to hold all this for myself. I want to teach other people to be healthy. And so that's a cool thing. We've got a video gaming lounge inside of the mall. We have a clothing boutique. Next week we're going to have an eyelash and eyebrow shop that's opening up in there. And there's a group who've been committed. COVID slowed them down a little bit, but they're really excited to open up on Friday nights a sober lounge in the mall on the lower level. We call it the underground.
Yeah, yep.
And it's got a nice media room. We use the dance floor of that studio, and they've got the concept. They've been investing in the space so that Friday nights people can eat, they can dance, they can have a good time together.
Wow. How important is it that the businesses be black?
Well,
To you.
To me, right. So what is important to me is that we absolutely see some black ownership there.
Okay.
Now, I expect, because if this is going to be a hub where we see black culture is very welcoming. It's very inclusive. So I think we'll see a little bit of everybody on this block, because that's our culture. But I am working really hard to make sure we see some black ownership there. It doesn't have to be all of it, but even to have some, that means we need to be really creative and thoughtful about how we bring people into business.
Yeah. We got a question. Where is it located? So you could kind of explain where in Pawtucket this is located.
Okay, so what is typically thought of as downtown Pawtucket is right near the river. There are a couple very notable buildings. There's the Times building that stands pretty tall there. There is a parking garage, and right next to the parking garage, you'll see a building that has a nice mural wall. It's got a pretty cool storefront right now, and that is the Still on Main mini mall. Across from that is the pawn shop building, which a lot of people know because they go to the pawn shop. That's one of the buildings that we own as well. And we're really excited because we are purchasing 2 buildings in the next month that have a lot of parking, and it's right next to the pawn shop building. It's right across the street from the Still on Main mini mall, and that's going to mean a lot more opportunity.
I'm going to give you some Rhode Island, I don't, not really lingo, but I'm going to give you some Rhode Island mannerism type things where when you explain where something is, you have to go back on people. So it's located next to the old DMV, which was the Pawtucket DMV, which is now which was also the Pawtucket School Department for a little while. So it's located near there, and it's not far from the old Apex building. Yeah, there we go. So it's right in the middle of the old DMV and the Apex building. You can't miss it. That's how we explain things in Rhode Island.
You know what? That's good. That's helpful. Between the old DMV and the old Apex.
Because if you said it like that, they'll be like, yeah, oh, I know exactly where it's at. That's it. I know exactly what you're talking about. See, got it. Big shout out to Orange Mama. She's on the line right now. We're actually talking to Leslie Moore, and she's buying the block and showing you that black people can own something. I know it's a concept that a lot of people don't understand, but black people can own the block. It doesn't have to be a house. It could be the whole street if you put your mind to it. How hard was it for you to visualize that you can actually do that, do this whole buying the block situation and start out with one and then keep on going? How hard was it for you to mentally think that you could do it?
Well, we have to remember that's me operating within my gifting.
Yeah.
So I tend to take a moment to figure out, is there a road? Is there a possibility? What would have to happen? And even though that road is so unlikely, there's so many things that could happen that could get in the way. If there's a chance, then I can get excited about it. And that's what happened in Pawtucket. It felt like there was a chance there. It looked like a window of properties about to sell or were selling. And I thought, oh, what a perfect opportunity.
So now we talked about the pawn shop and we talked about Pomelands Mall, which are across the street from each other. What else over there are you even looking at, or what else do you own?
Okay, that's a good question. So there are 2 buildings. There's something that people may know is there's a building called Mangoes, which is right next to the Times building. I don't own either of those. But next to that are 2 smaller buildings. One has a restaurant. It's got a hookah lounge in it. Mm-hmm. So we own that building, and then we own another one. People may know Time Machine Studios. That operates in our other building there.
Okay.
So we have those two. And then we have of course, the pawn shop building,
Which is huge.
which is huge, and we are we're checking in with the family and everything, but we want to call that the Nipsey Hussle Tower. But we want to make sure the family's all cool with that.
I'm gonna tell you right now. You name it the Nipsey Hussle Tower, that people are gonna. That's it. It's a wrap. It's a wrap.
We were thinking about somebody who was about business, but who was creative.
That's national news.
Yes.
That's ready to go.
Yes.
Whoever thought about that, that's someone to keep on the team. And if it was you, girl.
So that's the third building. The fourth building is the Still on Main Mini Mall. And then we're buying 2 buildings in the next 3 weeks. And those are sort of larger buildings with parking. And so we're excited about the possibility for festivals, for outdoor markets, just, different things that we always wish was in our reach.
Yeah.
And now it is. There's a couple buildings that have residential in it, 5 units down there, and we have those under contract. There's not a lot of apartments there. It looks like more condos are going to be going up in the next couple years, but we wanted to make sure we had some so that we have the opportunity to do some residential. We want to train people. We want all sorts of cool things happening there. And so if we have places to house people, that makes the opportunity more. And there are 4 other buildings that we have under contract. And I probably shouldn't say which 4 they are because the tenants don't know just yet.
Okay, that's no problem. But basically, a good percentage of downtown Pawtucket will be black owned.
Yes, that is a story. Already, we do have, in terms of number, we have majority ownership of buildings in downtown Pawtucket. And that is growing. And I was at a meeting just before I got here, a short one, after the culinary meeting, with some folks who are interested in investing as they heard the story, and they're thinking about the possibility there. These are people who will inspire the community by going ahead and buying in.
So let me ask you a question about investing. What if I have a couple of dollars? I don't have thousands and thousands, but I have a couple of dollars and I do want to invest in this situation. Is that a possibility?
Yes. Well, right now, the kind of investors that we've been getting, because I don't really have money, but I believe in this vision enough that I will borrow money and commit to paying it back. And that's been how this has worked, is just believing in the vision enough to take that risk.
I want y'all to this is the take notes part. Go ahead.
So that's what we've been doing so far, is borrowing and committing to giving people back more than the bank would give them. So we're saying, hey, take the bank out of the equation. We need a different kind of bank. We need people to invest and not expect $1 while we're building this thing, but in 2 years you get it all back, plus more than the bank would have given you in that time. So really just trying to be creative and saying, hey, these structures don't work. These banks don't work. How can you tell people you need something to get something, or you have nothing, give them something, and then expect they're going to start paying on it the next month? They don't have anything yet.
Which definitely happens.
Yeah. So anyway, so that is
with high percentage rates, by the way.
Right. And they're giving you pennies, and they're making dollars.
Yeah.
Big dollars off of your money. And so we need to understand that game and really introduce different ways for it to work for us. But
so Terry Hodge said the church at New Jack City, Leslie bought the block the right way. Wow. So I don't we kind of I don't know if we kind of gave an answer for a small time investor. There is a possibility that they could.
Okay, right. I was trying to figure out where I was going with that. So really, We want some of the property there to be community owned, meaning you could have $3,000 and you have a share of that building. That's a little complicated. We want that. We think that's important. We're thinking about which building or buildings that should be true for. But what we know is that makes sense. It makes sense for our culture. It's a communal culture. It makes sense if we're saying, hey, this is for us now and in the future, then yes, we should be owning it and have something to pass off to our children and their children. And so we want to do that. We're looking into different platforms, but it hasn't felt important to just grab the property for now and figure out what's the best way to bring people into that ownership later.
I think that's an empowering situation that when someone could say, listen, they could drive their kids to that area and say, you're going to own a piece of this.
Yes.
I think it's very empowering, and it actually makes for the kids to have something to look forward to. So that'd be a cool situation if that could happen. That'd be awesome, especially for somebody who doesn't have all the financial resources that it takes to go buy a building. You know what I mean? And I think that's another way that it will make national news. I mean, that's my personal feeling. I think it will make national news just having these minimal owners. They don't own the whole property outright, but they have a piece of that property, whereas they probably rent. You know what I'm saying? A lot of people rent homes and rent apartments, and you don't own a thing.
Right.
And it takes me back to this situation. Not to go off track, but I just have to say this. It takes me back to when I was growing up, and I'm hearing people from the Crips and the Bloods and all this stuff, right? And they're fighting, and then someone, I don't know who said it, but someone's like, you don't even own none of this. You're fighting over it. There's bloodshed, and you own nothing. And that was where ownership really came into my head. When I heard that, like, these guys are dying over property the white man owns.
Yeah.
And I think we have to get out of that type of mind state, and learn that we should own something, you know, just to pass it along and create that generational wealth.
Yeah, and I'm glad you get it. I do feel like this is a time where I can see our people are have the opportunity to ask, to have the opportunity to have a voice. I feel like a lot of the things we're talking about are very symbolic.
Yes.
Very symbolic. I want, our name written, I want Black Lives Matter written here. And you know what? That's positive. But we don't own that street.
100%.
We don't own that street. And so I know people are asking, why Pawtucket, though? Dang, you're going to make us go to Pawtucket? And I'm saying there's something bigger than convenience. There's something way bigger than convenience.
On the low, a lot of people live in Pawtucket. They live in because it's cheap rent. Yeah. A lot of it, so they just don't want to admit it. But maybe it's cool to admit it now. Now that you're gonna have a whole block dedicated to you, maybe you'll be like, I live in Pawtucket. It was right around the street from me.
I'm
you know
from there.
Yeah. So that maybe that would be dope now. I think we do have to absolutely thank you for even wanting to invest in Rhode Island, because you could have went anywhere. You could have literally went anywhere and seen a rundown area and said, hey, I want to rehab it this and make this a little bit better than what it looks like. But you chose Pawtucket. And I mean, hopefully the people that listen to this later and are on now actually get to meet you and get to talk to you about how they could possibly do some things in that area. I know you have a lot of space for artists.
Uh-huh.
And I'd like to see a nice gallery.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh. Well, that's part of what needs to happen. We need to make it work. we're not opening up a bunch of community centers. We
Yeah.
want this to be a place where the dollar is circulating. And so we're really trying to be thoughtful. That means people need space to create, but they also need space to show their stuff. So we
Yeah.
can't just have a bunch of recording studios.
Yeah.
We need places where people can perform.
Yeah,
So
100%.
we want to think like that. We can't just have people making art. They need a place to sell that. And so I love that you're saying there's got to be a gallery because people need to make money from their
100%.
gifts. Yeah.
So give me. I want to know your ultimate vision. I know you have the mall already, and then you have some recording studios already in the process and already in there in some of the spaces. But what is your ultimate goal for this block? Like, what is the goal? The Leslie dream block.
Well, you'll hear it here now.
Yeah.
See how close we get to it. If things go the way
No, we're not gonna do that.
Okay, because I want to leave space. It doesn't have to just be my thing, right? So
Yeah.
there are things that I'm excited about. Somebody may bring something else in that I'm like, oh, that's cool. I didn't even think about that. But the things that I am excited about is that somebody could drive a car into downtown Pawtucket, and as soon as they hit that downtown area, they start to see something that is just beautiful and surprising. They see mural after mural after mural of beautiful black images and people. Like, just visually, you're like, where did I come?
I'm going to close my eyes. Go ahead.
There are flags waving all sorts of countries that I'm not, it's not the British flag. Where is that flag? But these are all sorts of flags from the African diaspora hanging. There's Black Lives Matter. So visually you see it. But then you're also hearing it. There's music coming from, it feels like every corner there is music playing because that is our culture.
Mm-hmm.
It may be drums on one corner. You got music piping out here, some old Motown piping out over there, but that is what you hear. As soon as you get on this block, you turn the corner, it's another kind of music. And that's not all. That as soon as you hop out the car, you're like, oh my gosh, I smell something good.
Okay.
Where is that coming from? I'm so glad. Now I'm hungry. I wasn't hungry, but now I'm hungry. But that you are seeing, you're smelling, you're tasting black culture. Now, there will be some other culture in there, mixed in there, absolutely. But that you will see something beautiful, and that beautiful will be black. I get if, people are trying to figure out what to connect it to. Usually when there's groups of people somewhere, a little contingent of Asians, a contingent of Italians, you'll see a Chinatown pop up. You'll see a Little Italy pop up. And when there is a Chinese holiday, an Asian holiday, it's going to be celebrated in that area.
Yes.
And it's open to everybody. And you go and you're like, because I'm enjoying, Asian culture. That's what I'm doing here. I'm enjoying that. That has not been the story for most black enclaves of people. That is the place that folks have run away from for so long. And what we're saying is, no. This will be a place that people are saying, I'm going to Rhode Island. I'm definitely visiting the Black Bloc. I heard all about that place.
In a sense, a Bourbon Street for Rhode Island.
Yeah.
Because I recently went to New Orleans and it was amazing. It was amazing. I seen kids drumming on buckets, making some money. I seen a band. I seen a magician on this street, and this was like 2:00 in the afternoon. But I stayed till 2:00, 3:00 in the morning, and it was thing after thing after thing. I don't drink, but there was bar after bar, which was cool. That's fine. But it was like my eyes couldn't stop, my ears couldn't stop, and I couldn't stop eating.
Yeah. Yes.
And that feeling was like one. I didn't even want to get on the plane and come back here. I swear I didn't. But it was like one of the best feelings I've had when I went to go visit a city, not just the fact that it was all that in one area. Majority of it was black. And I didn't hear. I've never heard music like that. I've never seen a 4-year-old, 5-year-old kid killing the bucket drums. I couldn't even. I got video of this. I couldn't stop watching it. The magician. I ended up seeing him on America's Got Talent. Like maybe like 3 or 4 weeks after right? I watched him do the tricks in my face, and it was amazing. And I just looked at that talent, and I said to myself, I wish that, because we are very talented here, I wish that Rhode Island had that same thing.
Yes.
And that's what you're bringing to life. And this is going to be something. This is going to be something. What's your timeline?
So, you probably know, next year is the 100th anniversary of the Tulsa community being burnt down.
Okay.
And that's so much of what, especially in African American culture, we look to as that thing that represents what we should be seeing more of, what we want more of. And we want, by Juneteenth of next year, for there to be very much a sense that we have built a black bloc, that we want to be able to celebrate that next year. Now, it's happening. It is absolutely happening, but we are still in a time where things are being shaped. We're buying the buildings, and we're deciding what's going in there right now. And so there will be more, it'll be more formed by next year.
How is the politicians in the city of Pawtucket taking it? Like, I mean, are you being met with any objections, or are they for championing this situation?
So what's nice is we've got a team of folks who are helping with the development.
Like, do we have to go down there with the boys, or we good?
So far, there's been excitement for the team, for what they might bring. I have a meeting tomorrow with some of the folks in the city to talk more about... Have you met with the mayor? What's that?
Have you met with the mayor?
I have talked with the mayor a couple times. This is probably the first conversation that we'll be having about this whole cultural piece.
Okay.
This whole black ownership piece. Tomorrow, we're going to talk about that.
Yeah, no.
We're going to talk about
Give
that.
Give it to them.
And I'm really hopeful that they get how important that is, that they get how much of a gift that is, that would come to Pawtucket in a time where everybody's saying, how do we support black people, that is happening here. And so I don't know how that's totally going to be received, but I want to talk about that. And because downtown Pawtucket is so intertwined with Central Falls, and Central Falls is the city I live in, I am also asking the leaders of Central Falls to get involved as a support to what is happening here, because the ecosystems are connected there.
Yeah, no, 100%. Central Falls had one of the worst school systems, period, public school systems, but that's another conversation for another time.
Yes.
I think you're on the absolute right track, and there's people that are watching that. Her visual goal sounds right on point. This area is gonna scream, "We made it! This is us." So there are people who understand what you're doing. What we need to do, and what I'm asking everybody to do, is get her name out there. Is there an actual company that we need to be supporting? Is it?
So the company that things are falling under, that's my company. It's called Core Collaboratives. The website is corecollaboratives.com.
Okay.
Corecollaboratives.com. So that's the company that's sort of pushing things forward. But I would say it's really about spending dollars on the block. And so as these food places emerge in the next 2 weeks, I want people to come try this food and give feedback. Everybody's learning, figuring out how to do this well. And so I do really want people to visit that food court.
This is what I'm going to say, though, because I know how people are. So let me talk to them for a second. We're not going to go there and yelp them. We're gonna go there, give a critique, and tell them to their face what you think they should change, politely too. By the way, don't do that. Listen, don't make me come. We're gonna do it politely, and then when we come back, then we yelp them and we give them that great review because they took some of our advice and said, "All right, maybe I do need to change this up," or maybe you know what I'm saying. We don't just want to publicly shame people. Cut it out. Don't do that.
Yes, that's right. That's the communal spirit that we need, where we say we are for each other. We want to see good things happen here.
Yes. I thank you. I know your time is valuable. I appreciate you stopping in here. And I think you're already on the path to do great things. And we here at The Juice, we support you 100%. We're going to try to get as many people. As soon as you give me a flyer for something that's going on, it's out there.
Okay.
Through our networks. And we're also trying to do some things, some talks on the low. So we'll come at you when we figure out how we can make some things work. But without what I'm trying to do with the radio station. So, but I do appreciate you spending your time with me today and talking to the people and letting them know where your goals are and what you plan on doing for Pawtucket in Rhode Island and the Black community. This is great stuff.
Well, I appreciate you. I'm glad you came out and that you came with fresh eyes.
Yeah. No, I had to. Because I had blinders on. I am not gonna lie. Not gonna lie. But they're off, and I do see it. I do, and just you explaining it. And I don't know if you know, but this is The Juice, and it's called the radio station you can see, hear, and feel. So it's almost in the same concept. And I believe in that. I believe in. You might not see the place, but if you could smell it, you'll find it. You know what I'm saying? And you might not be able to see it, but if you hear it, you might be able to find it. And that's what I felt when I went to New Orleans. All the seeing, hearing, and smelling you could get was in one area, and it was really nice. And I think that's exactly what we need here. And it will help some people. If you have a business that you think that may work with this concept, you need to make sure you find Leslie and really get that going, because it's the time. We don't have time to BS.
Yes.
We have no more time to BS. This is like movement time. We gotta make some moves. So let's get it going. I appreciate everybody who's on and everybody who goes back and watches. Like I said, I'm on my 14th one. You've met 14 different people that you didn't know before, and I'm going to keep on bringing people, and I'm going to bring Leslie back because I want to see what the progress is like, and we'll throw some pictures up and go through a whole slideshow next time.
Yes.
And we're going to make it happen, man. Thank y'all for taking your time out for Let's Talk today. I appreciate you, and I appreciate you, Leslie. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you.
All right. Have a good night, y'all.